Good day, Sanbonani, Dumelang. We're back yet with another episode, and this is such a, you know, hey, um, yeah, it's a big moment because this is our first video podcast for Rise with Sinalo Duba, and I hope that this will, actually help more people in terms of sharing ideas, sharing experiences, and also helping each other to uplift one another as we grow in our different fields, in our different careers, as we transition from university to work and from high school to university. There's a lot that is done, and through this platform, I hope that we can maximize on that and have people actually, live to their fullest potentials. So, without wasting any time, I think we should just delve into today's episode. And today we'll be discussing networking and how we can actually build long lasting relationships with, networking and assisting each other through networking. So, I think that before we start as to deal with how can we actually help each other to network, it's important for us to actually break down what networking is, what networking means. And I think simply put, networking is, being intentional about building certain relationships with people that are going to help you professionally and, personally. So that entails going out there and, you know, identifying people that are going to be assisting you in your journey, in what you want out of your career, right? And it's about how you can actually leverage on having these relationships and how you can capacitate yourself through having these relationships, right? And it's not a one-way street, it's a two-way street. So in whatever networking event that you get to, you should always know that it's not just about you being there and these people giving you pearls of wisdom, but it's also about you, you know, um, being an active participant because you're listening and you're asking questions and you're actually challenging. Not challenging saying you are not right or what, but challenging in the sense of you are bringing a fresh perspective, you are bringing your energy as a young person, you are bringing different ideas, right? And I'm not saying papa ube usiti wena. I think this is what should be done, but I'm just saying that you need to sit in those rooms and be confident and ask questions, be bold enough to ask questions, but also have that thing of saying that, okay, I'm going to be a sponge and I'm going to be able, I'm going to take as much as I can from these conversations that I'm having here in order for me to help myself grow. So I think before we get to how should we network, how or what must we do when we network, it's very important to dispel a few myths. Khona ubunyani, or not ubunyani, ndithini na? Khona izinto ezithethwayo ezingekho about networking. So networking myths. And the first one is that when you are networking, you need to be outgoing. That is not true. Networking does not have a substandard, a certain standard that everyone needs to conform to. There are different ways, and you need to, find your own style and how you can network using your own style, right? So introverted people can also network. So there's nothing wrong with that. And it's not just for extroverted people. It's not for Wandaba Papaya who network. Networking is for everyone. Everyone out there can be able to network, right? Then the second myth I've heard is that networking is for people who are only looking for a job. And this is not true. You must remember that when you're networking, you are not doing it for the short term. You're doing it for the long term. And you are capacitating yourself in terms of your skills, in terms of your intellectual abilities and capabilities. Because whoever you're networking will, inspire you to do something, to read this, to look into this. You're getting fresh, new perspectives on things that you never really thought about. and this person is actually sharing that with you. So you get challenged on that level. So it's not about what you're gonna get, about getting a job. No, it's about how can you, as the person listening to this right now, capacitate yourself to be the best that you can be in whatever sector, in whatever industry you're into, in whatever business that you're pursuing. That's what networking is about. So it's not about a job. And then networking is for everyone. Don't say I'm not I'm doing this and therefore this does not require networking. Networking is for everyone. You can network with people all across the board. And the what we tend to forget is that one day or another you're gonna need someone, right? You're not necessarily gonna need someone in order for them to pull you a favor. You might be in the same room as someone who is gonna help you, right? So we need to be intentional then with the kind of relationships that we foster, right? And then moving on, the third myth that I've heard is that in order for you to network, you need to have something to offer, right? And we are young, we don't have anything. Okay, at least most of us. We don't have anything to offer besides our energy, besides our interest, besides our ambition. There's nothing else we have, right? And this is not true as well because it holds people back. What I don't like about myths in general is they hold people back from doing things, especially with what we're dealing with right here. Because if you're an introverted person and you're told that networking is for extroverted people, then you're going to be, you're not going to want to do it. You're going to be discouraged from doing it, right? So we need to learn that it's not about what you can offer, it's not transactional, and it's about giving and receiving over time. That's what it's about. And we need to focus on creating connections first, and then the value will naturally flow, right? So the key principles of effective networking is that I think I put this down for now so that because now if maybe you were not confident about networking, we need to understand that, okay, whatever you were not confident about, I hope I did cover it. If I didn't cover it, please do leave a comment on what is holding you back from networking out there. And then we can try and address that in the next episode or so. So now that we've dispelled these myths, right, let's deal with the facts and let's deal with what has worked. And let's deal with the key principles of effective networking. And the first one is that you need to be authentic, you need to be original, you need to be yourself. People can see someone who is not being genuine. People can see someone who is just doing something because they want, to get some benefit out of it. So you need to be genuine in whatever you want. And when you are networking, you need to be genuine, right? And authenticity is the bedrock or the foundation of any lasting relationship, right? Whatever relationship, you need to show authenticity. And that is, the beginning of it all. And it just ties everything up quite good because you're authentic. And through authenticity, then trust is also, built. So it's very important for us that you have to show that you are genuine, and you must show interest in others, and you must ask thoughtful questions, and you must be yourself. That's all. Like in whatever room you get into, you need to be yourself. All right? And then the second essential principle is that you need to start with listening. Like, great networking is less about talking and it's more about listening. Yes, you can talk about your credentials. I was a head boy of what, I was a leader, I was a chairman, I was the best what. It's great. But most of these people don't care because they've also attained what you've attained, right? So it's not about your credentials. It's about listening, you know, and 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 showing that you're invested in what you are getting, you know, paying attention to what this person is saying. Ask open-ended questions. You know, you'll not only learn more from doing that, but you also feel, or you also make that other person feel valued, you know, for the input that they're giving in that, you know, interaction. And the third essential is that you need to focus on building relationships, not transactions. Networking should be a two-way street. Like it's not about the one person doing everything, you know. It should be a two-way street, and you need to think long term. It's about focusing on the relationship rather than expecting immediate outcomes. So you need to know that I am doing this today so that tomorrow or in 10 years and 20 years I can be able to benefit from this. So that's what it's about. And it means that which goes to the fourth point that I have. It leads to you needing to be consistent. And consistency is going to help you so much because it's not about today, but you are constantly, regularly engaging with the people that you're networking with, right? And I'm not saying be an annoyance to them, but I'm simply saying that you need to maintain that relationship. You know, if it's through a LinkedIn message, congratulating them for a certain milestone, you know, sharing an article, asking them a certain question on maybe something that you are busy with, right? But you need to always constantly maintain that relationship, right? And the last point on the essentials of networking that I want to discuss is offering value. Think about how you can help other people. Think about the things that you've suffered the most because you didn't have information on as you were growing and that you had to learn the hard way. Think about how you can help someone else, you know, through that. Because if you've suffered from it, then surely there's someone out there that has also suffered from that. So that will give you value, right? And when you're offering value, you build goodwill. And through building that goodwill, people will be able or most likely to help you in return, right? And then I think it's important for us to deal with networking strategies and how you should network because networking involves different situations which won't always require the same thing or the same input, right? So it does not have a one size fits all approach. It varies depending on the situation that you find yourself in, right? And let's look at some strategies for, you know, effective networking. So sometimes you're going to be at a conference or a networking event that will require you to not just stick to the people you know at that event. You need to speak to people that you don't know and make an effort to meet new people. It's very important for you, you know, to go out there when you're at an event and don't be comfortable with the people that you are with that you know. Like Bashi, live with those people, you know, mix, get into the room and meet new people and speak to new people, right? And then you need to also, a good tip to focus on is having meaningful conversations in these events. So don't just be handing out your business card and tell people how smart you are, but look to learn from what they're doing and ask questions about, you know, make them, put them on this stage and listen, right? I'm not saying, you know, I don't know what word to use. English, yeah, I know. But don't worship people. Yes, that's what I want to say. Don't worship people, but all you need to do is you need to show them that, look, I invested in what you're doing, my good sir or my good lady. I want to know, I want to know from it. So I think that is very important, and you must always be, make sure it's a conversation, not a sales pitch. You're not pitching, you're having a conversation. And there's no specific way, because, you can't really prepare to the T for things like conversations. So it's very important for you to then be yourself. The only thing that you can only have is to have a conversation. I mean, to have the confidence, and to also do your background homework. Sometimes you're gonna meet someone that you don't even know. I remember this one time I was at an iStore, and I was actually waiting in line because it was so full, and I met this lady who was also getting something for herself. I wasn't getting anything, I was just window shopping. And this lady says, "Oh, okay, so what do you do?" And then I'm like, "No, I'm doing this." And I ask her, "What are you doing?" And I tell, and she tells me what she's doing, and I'm like, "Oh wow, like how many years have you been doing it? How has it been?" And the conversation flowed from that. At the end of the day, we ended up exchanging numbers, because the person is like, "Okay, no, we should catch up on this," or "I would like to know more about this. How about coffee? How about supper? How about lunch?" That's how you actually build and you cultivate relationships. Sometimes, because you've been doing it so much, you invoke interest in people, and they end up wanting to speak to you, right? So it's very important for you, and there's no certain place. Like, you can do it while on queue in Home Affairs. You just speak to people, right? And through speaking to people get interested in what you're doing, and they look to invite you to certain things sometimes, and that then helps you. So it has a tumbling effect, right? And then I think it's important for you to be mindful of your body language, and both yours and the other person, when you're in such settings. And you need to always know that, you need to always be professional, clean. I mean, some things I can't explain. Beazazi, we are old, but you need to be presentable when you are at such in-person events, right? And this doesn't mean that you have to go out, buy a fresh suit and what and what. Just be smart, clean, presentable. We are young, we don't have money, so let's not bother ourselves with those things, right? So I think that is very important when it comes to being in a networking event, in-person networking event, at a conference or whatsoever. And then the second place, which requires a different strategy, is networking online. In the previous episode that I did with Lisa Thomas, we discussed personal branding and how to deal with, being online. And I think with platforms like LinkedIn, online networking has become the thing. So it's very important for you to, like, when you're connecting with someone, when you're sending a connection request, try and personalize those requests by telling them who you are, what you do. Rather than sending a generic request, it's important for you to actually tell the person, like in that request, that, "Look, I want to connect. This is how we can support each other. This is what I do, or this is what I want to do. And I think that through us having this relationship, I will really, or we will really benefit from it." So don't forget to mention them as well, because it's not a one-way street, like I said. And once you have connected with such a person, you need to engage, on their posts, and sharing helpful resources, or even reaching out, having a virtual meeting, or even reaching out for a coffee or whatsoever, right? And then the last way, or the last strategy that I want to discuss, is informational interviews. So this is a new concept for me because I'm like, interview is for work most. Why would I have another type of interview? So you can actually approach someone that you really respect and that you really look up to in whatever sector, and write an email or send a message to say that, look, I'm interested in what you're doing. My name is so and so. I do this. I would like to request an informational interview. So, an informational interview is basically doing your homework on that person and maybe what they do, the work that they do, the impact that that work has, and then preparing questions. Now, you don't have to prepare a lot of questions. You can prepare just 3 questions, you can prepare 5 questions, and you actually have those questions, and then you discuss with that person based on that, right? This can be virtual, this can be in person. Some people are too busy, so you can even send an email, just slide an email to make sure that this person actually answers to those questions, right? And what I've noticed, especially with senior people like ambitious people who are willing to learn. You know, in some way or another, it encourages them to do more. So be hungry, be ambitious, you know, be full of energy, because that, I don't know, I think maybe it reminds them of their own days, but you need to be hungry for what you want, and you must not be unapologetic for being yourself in such situations, right? And then the most important thing is we've took on what networking is. We've explained what networking is. We've dealt with the myths of what networking is so that you don't hold yourself back from networking. We've discussed the different, elements of how you should actually carry yourself when you're networking. We've discussed the different strategies that are suited for the different, situations that you'll find yourself in networking. And I think now it's important that once we have, dealt with it, or once we have got this thing, how do we actually maintain it? Once we've secured this relationship, how do we maintain this relationship? And I want us to deal with how we are going to nurture and maintain this networking relationship that we have. So I think once we've made the connection, maintaining and nurturing the relationship is quite important. And it's just as important as making that initial contact, right? And the first thing that one should do as a means to as a means to maintain the networking is to follow up. So after a meeting, you can be like, hi, thank you so much for today. I'm looking forward to our next engagement, or I will keep in touch, right? Things like that. Second one is then do keep in touch regularly. You need to keep in touch regularly. So don't wait until something happens for you to speak to that person. Then that person then will feel used or taken advantage of, because every time you are texting them, every time you're emailing them, you are doing it because you are in a tight corner and you want help with this or this or this or this. So you need to always try and maintain that contact with the person. And then the third one is you need to be a connector, right? Don't say that once you've connected with people and you probably know another person who's doing similar things, then connect them. If you know of a friend, let's say you are networking with someone, and through that networking, maybe you're at a restaurant with a person and they happen to bring someone else, right? And you end up speaking to that person, and through your conversation with that person, you learn that that person is actually, aligned or doing work or has interests in things that a certain friend or a certain person that they don't have to be a friend, that they're into. Then you can bring these people together. Now you have two people who you have brought together who are now assisting each other. Now you are giving them value, and you are actually also instilling trust, because now they can be able to trust you as well, and yeah, so it's not just about us, but everyone else that we find in our circles, right? And By keeping in touch, you need to send those check-ins, share something you think might be helpful to them, even congratulate them on their milestone, say happy birthday, I wish you many more years, things like that. That will assist you. And then, as we close today's episode, I think it's very important for us to understand that networking is an effective, very important tool in our careers, in our different journeys, in when we want to start businesses, when we want to elevate ourselves. Networking helps ourselves. You are nothing without people. You need to understand that. And you need to understand that it is through people that we are going to grow. It is through people that we are going to learn. It is through people who are aligned to what we do and the things that we are invested in that we are going to grow, both personally and professionally. So I encourage guys, English. I encourage you guys to please share this episode, share it with someone who will need it, share it, with the young people, and and send comments on what you think is ideal in networking and whether you do think that it's something that we need to be intentional about. And yeah, I'm available on all platforms. Make sure to subscribe so that you can get the notification for the next episode, and you can also get more content that I share. But other than that, Sinalo, peace.